Welcome to the second segment of our discussion with Mr. Parimal Gandhi and Dr. Bhatia. In this segment, we will dive and focus specifically on implementation of their training programs. My first question then is, how do you focus on implementation?
You know, Melvyn, most of the training today, unfortunate as it is a thorough waste of time and money. People people go through trainings and lots of it is conducted and very little sticks. Very little gets implemented.
That's shocking for a 40-year-old training company to say that.
But Melvyn, it is unfortunately true. And that is why you see more and more organizations cutting down on their training budgets, making training programs shorter, and more participants today resist being nominated to training programs because so much training is happening which is just meaningless. It's irrelevant, it's meaningless, and work accumulates. You go off for a training program, your desk is full when you come back, your inbox is full when you come back. Even while you're there, you're working away on your mobile phone or your laptop. And if you're getting something great in return, which is going to make your life easier at work or at home, then it makes sense. Otherwise, where does it make sense?
It's the confusion. We have so much information today, so much overload of information that people don't want any more new knowledge. There is enough out there. What they really are looking for is, how can I make sense out of what I know?
Right.
How do I make what I know usable in my life?
I've noticed this. I've noticed this in my hotel also and in my organization, wherein every time you actually have a training class, your audience, the numbers in your audience generally tends to dwindle as compared to the initial list of names that would have come for a training program. So how do you conduct these training programs to ensure that there is enough and more delivery after the training program?
See, number one, the numbers dwindle. Number two, of the dwindled numbers that you have left, how much actually implement? How many people actually implement what you wanted them to learn to do?
Yeah.
So there is a double tragedy happening there.
It's like something I've heard before. They say in a training program, keep your ears open. So everything goes in from one side and gets out from the other.
Exactly. That's so
and
true.
I don't blame the participants. See, what happens is, people go to a training program and just a couple of months down the line, if you ask them, what did you learn? They can't remember. Worse still, from a trainer's point of view, they cannot remember the name of the trainer who conducted the training.
Or the title.
Or the title.
Yes,
And these
so
beautiful
bad.
workbooks and manuals and stuff like that, they get nicely tucked away. They are ferociously making notes, which points to incidentally another problem, that people today are just basically acquiring knowledge. It's easy to keep writing notes, but it's very difficult to change your behavior. So why not do the easy thing? You'll be writing, you'll see participants ferociously writing notes. And then, some of them are reading or, doing other things.
Or working on their mobile phones.
But they'll be writing them, they'll be filling out these worksheets, workbooks, whatever, very diligently. And then at the end of the training program, it gets tucked in to a drawer or a shelf and never looked at again.
See, it's like water on a duck's back. Now, why does that water keep going away constantly? Because the duck has no use for that water.
I agree. Yeah, it makes more sense.
So if it is knowledge which has been pre-selected, which is going to help me to reduce my problems at work, which is going to help me to make life easier for myself, I will hug that knowledge to my heart and I will want to implement it.
So our focus is on retention. We look for retention rather than giving them a whole lot of stuff. We give little. We talked about it. Less is more.
So then, how do you decide what needs to be learnt?
There are several sources for that. The first is you, the client.
Right.
The client has to tell us what they want the participants, and it's very simple. It's common sense, which is so uncommon. 2 questions. What do you want your participants to start doing? What do you want them to stop doing? Now, everything doesn't come from the client, because the client may or may not know everything. And therefore, you go to, let's say it's a sales training program.
Yeah.
And the client might be able to tell you that, look, these people are not selling, or they are giving away too many discounts. What happens next? You go with the salespeople and you find out what they are doing right. There are many things that people are great at doing, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So much less work for the trainer. And you find out what they are not doing right. And then you start designing the training program based on their needs.
Sure.
See, if I have fever and you give me a vitamin pill, it's
not
good,
gonna
but
work.
it's not going to reduce my fever.
Yeah.
So, if I can give training which is focused on the needs of the organization and the participants, it's going to be great. It's not going to be water on the duck's back, it's going to be water that the duck drinks.
And that's beside, Parimal often says that knowledge is basically hastak, pustak and mastak. Why don't you talk about that, Parimal?
Yes. I believe there are 3 stages of knowledge.
Okay.
The first is pustak. The knowledge is in the book or on Google, which is the biggest book today.
Right.
And then you have knowledge which goes from the pustak to the mastak.
Yes.
Okay, which
Yes.
goes to the head. And then it seems to stay there. And what organizations are looking for, after all, they are investing their money. What you're looking for is not that I lecture your participants, but you are looking for your customers to smile, your guests to smile
Yes.
when they leave,
Yes.
and your guests to be delighted,
Yes.
and to be talking about the great food and the great service here.
Yes.
Therefore, what you want the training to be is hastak. That means that it gets used. Now, rather than teach them a million things which they won't remember, what we try to do is teach them a few things that they will use.
Precisely. So what Parimal is talking about is change in a training should happen at 3 levels. Knowledge, then attitude, and then behavior. What we are targeting in the end is behavioral change in a participant. There's no point in keeping it to hastak and mastak if it does not get, pustak and mastak, if it does not get converted into action, which is hastak. What is the point?
See, the biggest problem is that I did not know it, now I know it. And
Yes.
this is where training stops.
So then, how do you bridge the gap between what people know and what they actually do in terms of your end product deliverables?
Melvyn, we have a crisis in training and development today. Most of the training is never used, as we talked about earlier. And the reason is that most knowledge does not get transferred into behavior. Trainers don't take the responsibility of seeing through the process until behavioral change occurs.
Okay.
So if you have a training program which bombards you for 2-3 days with all of that stuff, that's written everywhere anyways, and you can read it on your WhatsApp messages, and you get multiple messages,
From different
areas and sources from where you
different
get the
sources.
same information. People are tired of it. So what sets the academy training apart, so to speak, to make it importantly different from everybody else, is that we ensure that the change, we don't leave it at knowledge level, we don't leave it at attitude level. We make sure that the knowledge transfer happens at the behavioral level.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question.
Right.
Like, how do you overcome this problem?
See, what is
If
interesting.
translation of training doesn't actually change one's attitude and behavior.
What is interesting is, in my view, what I have seen over the last several years is that between learning and doing, which is easier? Learning, right? I mean, I may or may not like it, but it's easier for me to sit in a class for 3 days or 2 days,
Yeah.
do nothing,
That's right.
have all this stuff bombarded at me, okay? God willing, it'll even be entertaining. I sit through it, I learn some new stuff,
Yes.
and I come back. Nobody's calling upon me to do it. Even my boss who's nominating me, bosses have strange ways of nominating people.
Yes.
Okay, most bosses will simply say, I have nominated you to a training program, go there, relax for 2 or 3 days, don't worry about the work here, don't worry about work period. Come back and you can get back on the job.
Yes.
Relax.
Because
what do you
there's a
think that-
certain number of trainings that organizations are today required to conduct.
So what do you think this guy is going to come to the training program and do? He's going to relax. Is his focus on learning? The answer is no. Now, supposing the boss were to say, I'm sending you to this training program which is really important, which is really useful, and when you come back, I want you to give me an action plan, and I'm going to assemble the departmental team, and you are going to make a presentation on how the training program is going to help us in doing our work better. Do you think the participant will be far more focused?
Of course.
There are 3 reasons why training doesn't stick. The number 1 reason is, like we talked about, there's an information overload,
Yeah.
and so people just reject information,
Yes.
the new information. It's easier to just listen to it and tuck it away.
Plus, connecting with what I said, nobody is asking me to do it. Doing it is a lot harder.
Yes.
Okay, I already have a subconscious way of working. I don't have to do anything to make it to work in a different way. It takes lot more effort. Human being is lazy.
Plus, I'm not accountable for the.
Exactly.
accountable for the implementation of the training that I've gone through in my department or my organization.
And that brings me to the second level. So when you talk about attitude, what is it in learning that stops people from learning, so to speak, absorbing and then accepting the learning to convert it into
Negative
implementation? Negative filtering.
Yeah.
And this is fascinating. Negative filtering is so fascinating.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's about, we are so conditioned to receive very, very little feedback, good feedback about our good performance, that by and large our mind is closed to any sort of feedback at all,
Right.
right? We don't want to hear anything more negative. And when you are being sent to a training, it kind of signifies, hey, you don't know this, you need to learn this, kind of saying under the sheets that you are not good at your job.
What
So
you were
go learn.
doing earlier was no good.
Right. Okay.
So the participant is coming with a closed mindset,
Yeah.
saying, okay, you know what, I'm done here. No matter what I do, I'm not going to be praised for it. So whatever new information is coming is being said, okay,
Yeah.
put it
And
somewhere.
And the over smart ones think that what new can these people teach me?
Exactly.
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 Yeah.
And the third reason, most important reason, is follow-up. The reason why trainings fail, and according to me this is the primary reason, is that most trainers think that follow-up is not their job. Okay? And most training managers look at it that way as well. That, they stop after they've sent a participant to training.
So how do you tackle that? What about follow-up? I mean,
Follow-up is critical.
how-
As far as the academy is concerned, our job is implementation. Our job is not just to go in and lecture people for 2 days or 3 days. We don't lecture them anyway. But to conduct training for 2 or 3 days is not our job. Why did you employ us? You employed us because you wanted your customers to be delighted.
Right.
You didn't employ us to go and lecture your participants or conduct a training program. So our focus is on the result, and therefore the methodology is different. What we want is that behavioral change should occur, and there are several follow-up mechanisms that we use. Many of them in the book, many of them out of the book.
Right.
So there is so much technology that is available to us today, which trainers could use, but which we've been using for many years. For the last 10 years, we've been, using
Exactly.
Yahoo groups.
Exactly.
We've been using Google groups. So we have, almost 10,000 participants to whom we are sending an email every day. Every day.
Every day.
Yes.
Every day for as many years as 10 years. So,
That
what
must
we
take up a
do-
lot of time then.
well,
a lot
it's
of, let me
That's
not
the
say
mission.
time, but a lot of dedication to actually go back, sit down and follow up with every single, if not every single, but at least 90%, 95% of most of your participants.
but that's what sets the academy apart.
See, our mission
Yeah.
is to determine our success by the measurable results that we produce. That's our mission. And implementation is our mission. Conducting training is a mechanism.
Yeah, because
So every day we spend a couple of hours looking through emails where our past participants have asked us questions, doubts, new scenarios come up in their lives for which this training didn't prepare them, or they don't know how to convert this into a new scenario,
Sure.
or they will ask us or talk about their implementation stories, success stories, and share them with the rest of the group. So we have a really nice, tight community of our alumnus